Okay, against Frank Marshall against George Marshall Norman. Oh, Marshall versus Marshall. Kramer versus Kramer. Okay, so black played D takes E4. White play here. It's a good position actually. In other respects, just basically there's a vacuum here. I know Petrosian is often exceptional at exploiting vacuums, although even Petrosian sometimes slips up tactically. Okay, but what does white play here? So D takes E4. So white play. What would you play? 5 seconds starting from now. Right, there's two ways to do this. The game continuation, knight takes G5. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so if bishop takes G5, we play this, and then here rook C7 is very, very strong, hitting that bishop. So say here we get this overwhelming position. We force this because otherwise we're winning the queen, and this is overwhelming here. If queen H6, queen E8 mating, so black is shedding material, and white is the exchange up, right? But black actually tried queen D5. Frank to play here played rook C7. So yeah, a lot of pressure here. Bishop takes, just took here. Queen takes, A takes. Bishop D5. White to win. Now the final move played bishop E7. Yeah, he's on these dark squares, he's on this vacuum. If the rook moves, we just have bishop F6. And it's nasty. Various moves win here. I think we a simple one, for example, it's just a huge position with knight G6 threatened. So black would have to give up the exchange. Yeah. So this position this vacuum is also exploitable, by the way, for those interested. With knight F7 check, so offering both knights here. Because after takes here, can you spot the move here, which would be winning from an engine perspective? If I gave you 5 seconds here. Okay, D5 is winning because we're introducing bishop D4. If queen takes, rook C8, I know pyrotechnics, because we win the queen like that. If bishop takes, bishop D4 is lethal. Just, yeah, crush. So there's two ways of skinning the cat there, so to speak. The game continuation, which is hopeless, whatever way this is looked at. In our next example, Frank Marshall is playing against Isaac Kashdan. So here, queen takes D5 had just been played by black. And it looks as though white needs to be careful. When black gets F5, it looks as though this be opposite coloured bishops. At the moment, though, opposite coloured bishops sometimes favour the side with the attack. And here, actually, is a good example of that. Can you guess what white played in this position? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video here. Okay, he played bishop takes G7. Yes, bishop takes G7. This is slightly loose at this very moment. So if takes here, we can play check. And this position after queen takes E4 is going to be a favourable rook and pawn ending for white. For example, here, this looks quite nice for white. The 3-1 I think gives white some winning chances, but also rook E7 check. This ending here, for example, could actually be a winning king and pawn ending, I think, potentially. So Okay, so Queen E7 check is dangerous there. It was ignored. Rook takes F5 was played, and now we have Bishop E5, and you can see this is very dangerous on the dark squares, even though it's opposite colour bishops. When the king's safety has been compromised, it's very tricky. The game continued, King H7, and now guess what White played? The engine loves this move. It's a really accurate move here in this position. If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video here. Okay, the snag with Queen E7 is black can block with Rook F7. So White plays actually Rook takes E4, so the Queen's not protecting F7 now. Queen takes, and nothing better there. We can block any check. So Queen takes, Queen E7 check, and we get a king chase, Queen E8 check. The Queen acts as a complementary to the bishop here. Queen D7 check, Queen E8, Queen H8. Okay. And now Frank finds this position. So Queen G8, King coming to H5. Now here, this is interesting. G4 would be drawing actually, because black would have perpetual checks. If we win the rook, there's perpetual check time. So White has to be careful. He plays Queen E8. King G4 is played, and now it's actually a mate in 6 by force, technically. This was bad on King H4 as well. On King H4, we play Bishop F6 check and win the Queen. So King G4 was played, Queen G6, Bishop F6 here, and this is a mate in 2. Now we can also take the Queen, of course, but G3 check, Queen H5, mating. Yeah, so the power of the opposite coloured bishops for the attacking player is demonstrated here. When King's safety is compromised, it's extremely dangerous. Okay. Now, in this example, George Alan Thomas is playing White against Frank Marshall in the Karlsbad tournament of 1929, and Black is doing very well already. White plays Bishop C4. Okay, and it looks as though yeah, there's promising attacking moves in this position. G2 looks a bit vulnerable to Queen G5. But actually I think one of the more incisive moves was played, even stronger than Queen G5. Can you guess? Give me 5 seconds. Okay, D3. Yeah, D3 makes White waste a bit of time actually, and it opens up some other lines. So let's see. For example, if we chase the Queen here, Queen H4 check, and also, sorry, another point here, it's blocking the defense of this pawn chain around the king. So in this position, knight takes G2 is fairly crushing. You see the Queen's been blocked from F3, so that's another key point about D3. For example, like this, we mate in 3, check, check, and mate. So it's very dangerous, this D3, because it's actually made in effect the pawn chain a bit more vulnerable for Queen H4. Okay, and then knight takes G2. So the pawn is taken, and we have actually Rook AD8, so gaining important tempo. Now here, if a simple defense of the Rook, then Black can just take this and use the E2 square. So that's crushing. Queen E2 check here, with knight takes D3 to follow. So here, White actually played Bishop takes H7. There's also other dangerous possibilities. If here, either Queen H4 check or knight takes D3 check, well, we can just take here and then leave that Queen hanging, basically, because any G3 would take on here, so the Queen's hanging to Rook takes Queen. So okay, so difficult position. White played this, doesn't really help. It's just taken. Now here, yes, so white is a piece down. After Queen G5, he resigned. I thought the initial D3 was cute for the attack here. So in terms of attacking concepts, it's about the vulnerability of a pawn chain around the king to remove defences to it with D3. Now in this example, Frank is playing white against Vladimir Petrov, which Frank was using the Petrov defense quite a lot in his games, and it came named after him, Vladimir Petrov. And okay, in fact, actually, in Frank's biography notes, he indicates that the Rogozin system had been used a long time before the Russian masters had used it, and yet was named the Rogozin system. But anyway, aside from that, so King H8 was played here. What would you play as white in this position? So there's the pin on the bishop, but do you retreat the bishop and then maybe look forward to H7, or do you do something more radical? So if I give you 5 seconds to pause the video now, what would you do here? Okay, if you play bishop b1, it doesn't really, black's always got knight e4s and stuff. I think so. If queen h4 next, say this, queen h4, I think black just blocks, and that's the end of the attack. So no attack. So actually, white just plays, instead of that, rook takes c5. Engines love this move. It's a crushing move. The two ways to take, well, if taken here and now queen h4, and that's diabolical. H7 can't actually be defended. The double pawns sometimes like this is just absolutely makes defense hopeless. Yeah, I don't think the other way helps either. In this position, again, queen h4 is actually a forced mate in 5 from here as well. Just for those interested, why it's not a forced mate here. Queen e4 has been suggested to slow things down. Okay, so yeah, rook takes c5, just to go for h7 without any hassle of knight e4. Crushing move. Okay, in this next example, Frank is playing black against J.L. McCudden, and yeah, black's already better. H takes g3 was played. So what would you play here with black if I give you 5 seconds starting from now? Okay, knight f4 check. Now if this knight's not taken, then it's cooperating with the queen. We can just mate like this. So it's taken, and now we have check, and now just the calm rook takes f4. White's not got any immediate counter attacks. Black's king has been really compromised. Even with this knight centralization, it doesn't really help. Check, check, and the interesting point about this is we see this now. There's a really crushing move in this position. It looks as though is white defending this. He's one move away from kind of defending this and using that H file. So what does black play here, you think, if I give you 5 seconds here? Okay, rook f8. The point is that rook takes f2 is now threatened for queen g3. So rook g1 was played. Now rook takes f2. And okay, although g3 is defended with that rook g1, but even so, queen h2 check here. Any attack rages from this position. Absolutely rages. Doesn't really matter what white does. White's worse. White plays rook g2 check. Queen takes g2. So at the moment, white is a piece up, but black is going to threaten, well, is taking the knight soon. if the knight moves here, let's have a look at knight e4, then the rook drops off, and loose pieces also are being exploited by the attacking player. So rook takes b7, check, taking the knight, rook f1, check, and now black has time for this queen e1 because there's no immediate counter attack. This bishop's really blocked in, it's hopeless blocked in, so that helps that there's no crushing counter attack from the white pieces. Rook b5, check, and mate. So that was in Manhattan Chess Club versus the Marshall Chess Club, New York, 1934. I think Frank regarded the play in the clubs as just as important as his tournaments, actually, in some respects. So here, Frank Marshall playing against Ernst Grunfeld, yeah, as in the Grunfeld defense. Yeah, some big names for these opponents. So here, f takes e5. White is doing very well in this position, but plays a very incisive move here, which engines really approve. I'm impressed by the tactical, accuracy of Frank all the time in many of these examples. The tactical precision. White to play here. What would you play if I gave you 5 seconds starting from now? Okay, knight d5 check. It opens up lines against the king. If it's refused, let's have a look if it's refused. Well, we just take the bishop. Whoops. So it's taken. Takes bishop d7. Queen takes e5 check. And the attack's very strong here. Rook c7. Now threatening queen e6 check, using that horrible pin. Rook e8 check, using the pin again. Queen e6 check. And now cheekily rook takes d7, even with the queen hanging, just attacking black's queen. I think this is, but there was actually stronger here. This is an inaccuracy at this point. There's apparently queen h6 check. This would have been apparently much stronger because d6 check. So if bishop moves queen g7 on king h8, bishop b1, yeah, check. And here, this is big trouble, this position, because if takes here, rook takes d7. Yeah, this is all pretty difficult to calculate. I mean, it's easy with engines. If bishop takes, queen takes there. Yeah, there's actually very little defense here. If bishop takes here, queen takes. This is hopeless. So yeah, that was a tactical shot missed. Easy to say with engines nowadays. But rook takes d7 still gives white an advantage. Rook takes e6, taking on d8. Rook e8, taking here. King f1. And actually, black felt he was losing here. He is 2 pawns down and resigned in this position, apparently. Okay, so that was Grunfeld. So we don't always have to play the absolute best move in the position to beat fellow humans. So here, against David S. Polland, Marshall Chess Club game, New York, 1937, bishop e6 was played. And yeah, white's dynamic play has improved dramatically with this next move. If I give you 5 seconds. Alright, it's not technically a sacrifice just yet, knight d5. Okay, so it's attacking the queen, but it becomes a sacrifice now, because after b5, if we take the queen, this is just better for black actually. This position is better for black. So if we go, so what was played was here, which makes it a sacrifice of the d5 knight, and it looks intuitively we're going to get a mass of pawns in the centre. This will be good fun. C takes is played, E takes, and now black castled actually, And yeah, there might be a temptation to take here, but this throws away any advantage, believe it or not. White has the advantage in this position, and this throws it away totally. If anyone's better, black's better. There's no problem here. This bishop's kind of blocked in. No, white keeps the dynamic potential, playing on here a rook down. Yes, he is actually missing a rook. Black's got 2 rooks, you'll observe, but he's got this central play here. So white to play in this position, what would you casually play here? Rook down. If I give you 5 seconds starting from now. Okay, rook f6. So the idea is rook takes h6 is very dangerous. Okay, among other things. And also taking is actually more dangerous there now. Bishop d7. And we have queen e2, another strong move. The queen coming over here. This pawn chain is fragile because of that rook f6. So it's another, in a way, for the attacking player to make notes here, that the pawn chain around the king, the safety of it, has been reduced because of this blockading rook f6 to stop possibilities for black. So if we can attack this pawn chain, then black's king is in big trouble. Now here, although queen h5 has been parried now, queen e4 is useful. This diagonal is sensitive. And there's actually 2 threats, not just queen h7, a more subtle one of rook takes f7. Rook h8 was played, which stops those 2 threats really. But now e6, so it opens up this bishop finally. So if queen takes f6, bishop e5. Okay, if f takes, then queen g6 is checkmate. So opening up that f file, the king not escaping. So black played bishop e8. So it's this center versus the extra rook, really. Does this favour the attacking player? Well, the bishop is now coming into life. So bishop e5, big advantage to white. Black actually gave up his queen here. Bishop takes. And now the move d6 actually threatens the rook, as well as d7, as well as queen f5 check to win the bishop. So winning more material now. Check, taking. Yeah, quite an impressive attack. And here black resigned. You might be a bit cynical there, but you know, after queen e2, the engines have this as an advantage for white, a rook down, whatever black does. King g7 is given the most accurate. Rook h8 the most accurate. If we played, for example, here, again e6 is strong in this position, because I think we're coming up with this and this as threats, and there's also even other weird ideas here. If takes, there's always queen g6 taking here. Yeah, it's such a dangerous position that the rook was outweighed by white's attack, prospects. The bishop here in the hands of the attacking player again demonstrated here, but the central control is very impressive for white as well, to back those bishops up. Impressive stuff. In this next example, Frank is playing white and black's under pressure. He played black's actually got a lost position already. This is against Ojvind Larsen in Stockholm 1937. Black played rook h7 and a cute tactical point is used here. What does white play here if I give you 5 seconds? Okay, I hope you spotted it. Queen takes, just vacating the f6 square for the knight by taking the rook. So it takes, check, and we win the queen, 2 up. It was already a winning position. I thought it was just a cute one to quickly make a note of that here. That leads to our final example that I wanted to show you, tactical prowess and sacrifices. So Frank is playing black here against Anthony Santazier, and white played g3. Okay, So what would you play here? If I give you 5 seconds. Okay, bishop takes g3. Okay, this is takes king d1. So even in 1941, Frank is still a really dangerous player. These are, you know, past his main competitive years, and you know, very dangerous attacking player still. So knight d4, hitting the queen. Knight f1, counter-attacking on the queen, but it doesn't matter. Black's doing very well here. Just takes the queen, takes on a1. And here, the knight can even escape now. Bishop takes, giving the knight b3. So yeah, this is just totally winning. The final little finesse here, rook takes d2 to get a nasty pin. White resign here. If taking here, rook d8. Now let's just examine that just again for a moment. Some other possibilities. Okay, so king d1, we have the check. Bishop d2, so white was passive here, knight d4. Now a queen move, let's give a queen move to c3. The problem with this, one problem is potentially knight takes f3, but even stronger apparently here, well, with the king of the center you'd expect some things. Queen f2, so threatening the knight. And what does white do? Say rook e1. This is just a strong position generally, because the king can't really move without losing e2. So black can actually just build up on the d file, apparently rook d6, and this is very dangerous. For example, the simple rook ed8, but even better rook c8. And yeah, with the king and queen just in the bad spots all the time, this leads to a disaster with queen takes e3. And here, can you see a killer blow in this variation? If I give you 5 seconds here. Okay, knight b3, so we're threatening mate. If takes here, we can have this position, which is crushing. And you might think, hold on a sec, knight d5. We can just take this and just take here, and black's winning that as well. So yeah, it's an intuitive sacrifice, just bishop takes g3. It leaves white with a host of problems. If the king had gone over here, knight d4 again, and now f3's like, I think, a big problem among other things. But there's also just first rook ad8 to threaten knight takes f3 more effectively. And this is bad news. Say here, check. Here, knight f5. So say the queen moves. Knight h4. We've got the use of pins for the attacking player needs to be really made note of. It's an amazing thing. If there's one thing, many of these examples feature these crushing pins, which the attacking player relishes, as well as loose pieces. These are the source of great combinations and tactics and sacrifices generally. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this glimpse at this genius, this attacking genius. I recommend checking out his biography work, where he's annotated 140 games, as well as background information on his experiences and meeting people all around the world, his travels to Europe. So there's a book which started off as annotations against his friends, but then became totally comprehensive, evolved into a fantastic report of his career, really, from the outset to his other more casual years after. So fantastic player, which I think any player wanting to improve tactics and attacking play, he's a master of attack, really. Great respect to him. Comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.